Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a motherfucking smack addict. Bye. I like doing that shit. That's just tight. Anyways, in the Menudo style in a direct fashion, we're going to get straight to the content of the day. But before we do, let's hit that like and subscribe button. Ding. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directing the direction of the dope content that the gun is kicking. I appreciate all the support. Thank you very much. I'm very humbled by it, man. So, spotted.
Hey, you got spotted, homie. Run, homie, run. Run, Caesar, run.
Right? Caesar better run. And he did. And the huevos are all over the authorities' face again because this guy just knows how to get away. He has getaway written all over his face. This guy is not captured yet. The Delano escapee now, you know, for a minute there, it was national news. Everybody was talking about it. This guy that escaped from the California Department of Corrections, and they wanted that very quiet, man. So it faded away. It went away with everything that's going on in the world right now. No one's talking about Cesar Hernandez and the great escape and how it was pulled off and how he's just out there, right? But he was spotted the other day. You know, I came across an article and I had to do a lot of digging because I kind of wanted to see, I've been asked a lot, whatever happened with them? I don't know. My guess is as good as yours. He got away. You know, whether it was an inside job or not, I think as content creators, we all did videos about it, explaining the situation. And it's not something that happens every day. You know, I could tell you stories about escapes and things that I've witnessed with my own two eyes, but it's not every day someone escapes from a level 4 prison yard or even a level 3 prison yard in the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitations. It doesn't happen, right? How this guy was able to do it? Very easily, right? Brains and a willingness to go all out. See, when you're doing life, when you have life without the possibility of parole or life in general, it makes you go the distance. You are understanding that you're probably never going to see the light of day. This guy was probably never going to get out unless some laws changed. And he took initiative and he said, you know what, fuck it, I'm going. Now, is he a threat to society? Absolutely. He's a killer on the loose, and a killer on the loose is very dangerous because they're willing to go all out. It's just like being on the run, you know, or trying to evade authorities. You don't care who you hurt or what you do as long as you remain free. I've been in that situation. I've been on the run, and you just commit more and more crime, and eventually the trail and the tail will catch up to you. Eventually. Now, in this guy's case, he's been pretty quiet, but I came across an article digging deep, man, just because people have been asking me to touch on this subject again, and he was spotted. He was spotted twice. Once in Bakersfield, California. Now, you got to understand, these are all alleged sightings. He's like Bigfoot right now. The Vato's feet are fucking big and fast. And hey, you know, to be totally quite honest with you, man, people are not sure if it's him. You know what? You start seeing things. It's kind of like the world. If you're driving a white car, all of a sudden you see white cars, right? Everybody was on the manhunt. Everybody was, where's Cesar Hernandez? Where'd he go this time? More than likely, he's in a foreign country. I won't say Mexico. I won't say El Salvador. But more than likely, by this time, he's already found himself deep in a cave somewhere in the cuts. But he was spotted in Bakersfield, man. There was actually an attempted robbery that happened at a convenience store. And people gave his description. They said it looked just like him. Now, this guy doesn't look too different from a lot of other Mexicans that I've seen in my lifetime. So when people are hyped and people are actually looking for somebody or hoping they see somebody, that's what they're going to see. Whether it was him or not, whether it was him that actually committed that crime in Bakersfield, California, one never knows, does one. But here's some knowledge you can't get in college. You can't say it wasn't. Okay, you can't say it wasn't Cesar Hernandez because at the same time, man, when I was on the run, I committed a lot of felonious acts, a lot of felonies. I don't want to say too much, but I just did what I had to do to stay evading authorities and to stay in the cuts. Like, I'm going to tell you guys the truth. One time, this is actual fact. So I was on the run and I was in Oxnard, California. I figured being a norteño at the time, an active norteño, the best place for me to hide out was in Southern California. So, right? So I was going down south, homie. And I had met a chick, and it was actually one of the homeboys that lived down there. He lived in Ventura at the time. It was his old lady. She went to college. It was her homegirl. And I knocked her like a real one does, right? And I actually went on the run, or I was on the run. It was at his house where I discovered that I was on the front page of the newspaper They wanted me for an assault that I did at a bar. Man, I was active. I ran up on a dropout at the time, got off on them where I was mad at, and now I was on the run. So I knew I was looking at prison time because they were going to hit me with a gang enhancement and all kinds of other shit. So, I had charges, giving charges, piggyback rides. I needed to get somewhere. So what I did was, when I met this chick and I knew she had a home available, she was in the cuts, she was in Southern California, that's the last place they would come looking for me. Now, of course, they'll go looking for you wherever you're at. But in my mind, I was like, shit, right? I'm going down there in Norteño in the cuts, undercover. I was doing undercover brother, right? So I did. I chilled at her house. I've told stories about it, man. I put on a Raiders jersey. She said, oh, hell no. The Colonias will get you, right? Shout out to Colonia in Oxnard. I had to put on a fucking cowboy jersey to blend in. And I did what I had to do. Now, at the same time, it would be quite obvious for Cesar Hernandez to go to Mexico or go to El Salvador, Central America, somewhere where he could blend in with other Latinos and wouldn't be as noticed because he's in a different country. But the authorities definitely know that, right? So sometimes people go north when they're from south and south when they're from north, or east and west, whichever direction you want to go in. You never know where the world will lead you or where your path will take you. Now, this guy has a lot to lose. And let's not glaze over the fact that there's victims out there and victims' families that want to see justice and want to see this guy incarcerated. Imagine how they felt when he escaped. You think, okay, my brother or my sister or whoever he murdered got justice, man. Their killer is locked up. He's going to be gone forever. We don't have to worry about him. And then all of a sudden you turn on the news, the local news, and you see him kicking fucking the shit out of a CO and jumping out of a van, and they couldn't stop him, which was a little fishy to me. But it was what it was, right? He figured it out. He figured out the escape plan, and he implemented it, and it worked, which is very, very rare. He's a diamond in the rough, to be honest with you. But let's not glaze over the fact, like I said, that there's families out there and people that are potentially walking around scared because they don't know if this guy's going to retaliate, come back, go all out, go nuts. They just don't know, right? So it's a sticky situation. But in Bakersfield, California, like I said, there was an attempted robbery, and there was people that said they seen who did it, and they reported that it was him. Now, you have to do things when you're on the run. You have to do things when you're trying to get money to get somewhere. It's not like you can go to the EDD office and apply or build a resume. It's not like you can go get a job at a gas station and pump gas, or you can fucking go wash your windows. This guy needs to get money, needs to get it fast. And unless he has his people working with him, that's going to be pretty hard to do. So people turn to what they know best, which is crime, unfortunately, right? And it becomes a dangerous situation because someone who's a lifer, who was killed before, won't hesitate to do it again, or maybe he will. But that doesn't weigh easy on the minds of people that are around that area. So Delano was on High Point, man. That area, the 805, the 661, or whatever area that is, Kern County was definitely aware that there was a guy on the loose. So I don't know if that was actually him that got spotted in the Bakersfield robbery, attempted robbery, but people said it was. Now, again, like I said, you're going to see what you want to see. You're not going to necessarily know, but there was definitely a lot of authorities that pulled up, and guy got away. Okay, Caesar's good at that, if that was him. Again, I'm not putting that on his plate. I'm just saying what was put out there. Now, recently, man, people have been asking a lot of questions. Why did they stop giving this media attention? Well, just like anything else in the world that happens, after a while, it becomes old news. Best believe they have a task force. Best believe they are actively searching for this guy. They're not going to stop. One thing I know about the CDC, they don't like huevos on their face. They don't like egg on their face. They don't like to lose lawsuits. They don't like to be made look bad. And this guy definitely made him look bad. That's the truth. In all my time in prison, I've heard people talking about trying to escape. I've heard people talking about trying to wiggle and get somewhere, but I've never actually seen anyone do it. Now, when I was in the youth authority, I seen 2 escape attempts. One of them actually worked. The other one, they didn't. And tragically, one of the guys lost his life in this escape attempt. And that's what happens, man. When you're willing to go that far, man, best believe there's no warning shots. They're going to try to take you down. That's why when Cesar Hernandez was able to escape, it blew my mind, the way he improvised, the way he set it up, the way he was smart. And let me recap for those that, and I'm sure everyone knows by now, just how he was able to achieve that and do that. Very smart. When they take you on a medical transport, usually it's to a local hospital. Now, in order to go on a medical transport, you have to have an ongoing existing pre-existing condition, something that they can't deal with within the prison medical field, because they have hospitals and infirmaries. I know when I was in Corcoran prison, SADF was right across the street. They had a big infirmary that treated people from the SADF prison, which was New Corcoran and Old Corcoran. I've been to both places. So I've been in that medical facility. I remember one time I woke up with a rash. I don't know what happened, man. It had nothing to do with Wes Watson sticking shit up my ass. I just had a rash, right? I went, they gave me some antibiotics, treated me. I was pushing. But in some places like Delano, Kern Valley or whatever, I guess, if you have a medical condition or something happens on the yard, you get stabbed or you crack your head open or you fucking just wake up and your fucking kidneys all rearranged because you got a new celly. What they're going to do is they're going to take you on a medical transport. Now, some of these guys have to go to specialists. And in Cesar Hernandez's case, he was able to facilitate going to medical transport. And I'm sure on his first dry run, he realized that the security that took him, and usually it's the same cops that do it all the time. Not all the time, but most of the time it's going to be the same guys. That's what they're working, medical transport. So they'll take you, you're cuffed, whatever. It's nothing to make a cuff key. On level 4 yards, 3 yards, if you're a gang member, if you're part of that life, man, you are aware of what a cuff key is and how to make one, right? It's pretty standard. Everyone has them. You never know when you're going to run into an enemigo, you're going to run into an opposition, and you have to get off where you're mad at. So a cuff key does come in handy. So people have been known to have them. Now, obviously, this guy had a cuff key. He realized that the COs that took him were lackadaisical at best. They weren't conditioned. And this guy took his shot. Now, with phones and with all these different escape devices that are allowed in prison, but are easy to come by, it wasn't nothing to make a phone call, have someone waiting, and do what he did. He did the run, Forrest, run.
Hey, that about the got somewhere, is he? He's gone.
And now all of a sudden, there was a manhunt. How was he able to get away so fast? That right there boggles my mind. And I know a lot of people said, oh, man, this was all set up. I guarantee you this, the CDC had nothing to do with this other than a couple lazy cops that couldn't run fast. They would not allow that administration, the prison is a big monopoly, right? Especially the California Department of Corrections. They're not going to allow someone like Cesar Hernandez, man, to make them look dumb. So, and the way I can explain that is this: with this end of hostilities thing, the guys did their hunger strikes. They filed a lawsuit and they won. And best believe CDC is not happy about that. They're going to continue to not be happy about that. And that is why they started to implement, mixing these SNY yards and these GP yards and trying to figure out a way to cause as much chaos as possible. So that way they could slam everybody who has any type of authority back in the shoe. That's what that's all about, man. Obviously, it's not working because guys have realized it's better to be united and be a united front and remain vigilant in what you're doing. So that way your gente stays out of the hoyo on indeterminates, right? But they definitely, man, are not done. CDC doesn't like to be made look like this. So Cesar Hernandez is definitely wanted by the CDC very bad and everyone else because he's a killer, a convicted killer. Now, the other day I was reading an article, man, and this guy was spotted in Central America. Now, you look at his picture, and he don't look too much different from any Central Americano that I've ever met. In fact, I have a homeboy that looks just like this dude. I had to call his sister and be like, damn, you still got that ass? Yeah, I got that ass. All right, cool. What's up with your brother? None, he's right here. Is that about his name, Caesar? I wasn't sure. You know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers is trying to get that reward money. I'm just kidding. Never that, right? But at the end of the day, there's a lot of people that are willing to go that route, that are willing to call that number and dial their heart like an old boy song and get someone locked up. And this guy was spotted, and they actually sent, I guess, what is a bounty hunter or someone to go track him, and come to find out it was not him, right? So this guy keeps getting spotted everywhere. What does that mean? That means they're aggressively looking for him. But I don't think this guy's going to be caught anytime soon. And I'm going to tell you why. I believe this guy, knowing what he's up against, knowing what he's looking at, he's going to be very clever in his willings and dealings. Now, I did a video a while back when this shit first popped off, and I said the way that this man gets caught is going to be there's two different ways he gets caught. One is going to be he gets too comfortable in his surroundings, in his area, and he starts to show face a little bit more. And that happens all the time. You know, the people that you deal with, you get comfortable around them, and you never know when you're going to be spotted or when someone has seen your face all over the newspaper. And two is by his own family or his own friends. You know, eventually they get tired of looking out for you. They get tired of giving you a place to stay. You know, people are scandalous in this world. There's a lot of people that don't care about anyone but themselves, unfortunately, right? And now I know you're saying, well, Gun, why should they look out for a convicted murderer, man? That ain't cool for him to be. Well, you know, when it's your family, as long as he ain't in on no weird charges or done any weird shit to people, you know, you look out, family looks out for family, friends look out for friends. Now, in my case, I had friends telling on me. I had family telling on me. I had people turning their back on me. And then I had family that loved me. And I'll explain this to you. When I was on the run, you know, they wanted me bad for whatever reason. I think it was because of my mentality and the agenda I was pushing on the streets, which actually came back and slapped me right in the face, right? I was really heavy into the prison politics and the association and the people I was associating with on the streets at that time. We were trying to conduct ourselves in a prison manner. And so a lot of the proper procedures that were going on in prison and the politics within the Norteño movement, we were implementing them on the streets. I was one of them. And I was pretty a hardliner, like Dubs would say, a hardliner, pretty stern in everything I did and strict in everything I did because I had been doing it since from a young age. I felt because I dedicated so much of my life to the cause, I was going to make sure other people did the same. And so the cops knew about it because my own people were telling on me. You know, they wanted me out of the way because every time I hit, you know, the streets, shit started to change. And it wasn't because I was this big bad shot caller making everyone do everything. It was because I was leading by example and I was a different type of animal. I was a different type of character, right? You know, I wanted, if we're going to go all the way, unfortunately, right? And that led to a lot of victims and that led to a lot of bullshit and time, which I served. So you can't get me because I did my time for it. But definitely, man, the word on the curb was the cops wanted me out the way. People wanted me out the way. So a lot of people were telling on me. So my grandmother passed and I was on the run and I was hiding out in Oxnard at the chick's house. And I get a phone call from a primo. Hey, man, grandma fucking passed. She's having a funeral. You know, if you want to pull up, it is what it is. Now, me having some type of street smarts, I understood that this would be a perfect opportunity for the task to come swoop me, right? The gang task. And at this time, they didn't have feds or FBI or whoever looking like they do for this guy, Cesar Hernandez. He escaped from being incarcerated. It's uglier for him. They were trying to lock me up. But I couldn't miss my grandmother. I was in a conundrum. What do you do? What would you do? I'm asking you, would you pull up and say, fuck it, it's worth going to my grandmother who did so much for me my whole life, and just go chalk it up and go to jail? Or would you do what I did, which was pay your respects from a distance? So I jumped on the Amtrak, got into town safely, and coordinated with a primo who's going to be unnamed. And he let me know, hey, man, this is what's going on. And I watched it. I actually was across the street from a distance in the cuts, hiding out in the trees like the guys that got JFK. I was in the cuts, right? Watching my grandmother be buried, watching my family go through the motions. And I was very emotional at that time. But I understood that, man, I just wasn't ready to go to prison yet. I went a couple months later, but I wasn't ready to go then, right? And so what happened was my primo fucking called me. And I noticed there was a lot of cars, a lot of people there, but from a distance, you can't really see everyone, you know? And my primo calls me, said, good thing you didn't pull up, man, because there was a gang of tasks waiting for you right here. They were harassing the whole time. That my primos actually had to run up on the cops and tell them, do it pushing, have some respect for my dead grandmother, you know, rest in peace. And that's how that played out, man. I'll never forget it because, you know, even in death, my grandmother went through things that she had to go through even in life. You know, we always parole officers, probation officers at our house, cops looking, raids, all these things, man. And it was all because of us. Me, my primos, the gangbanging, the trying to be cool, trying to be tough. You know, we affected everyone around us. And that is a perfect example of why someone like Cesar Hernandez has to look out, because it's going to be the same people that he respects and that he's around are going to get tired of his bullshit. And that's how he'll get caught. You know, so he was spotted, I guess, in Central America. People say it was him. I believe if it was, like I said, if it was, they would have snatched him already. but don't think that they've stopped, man. So that's kind of like my update on the Delano Escapee. Again, man, it kind of hits home. I understand being on the run. I understand some of the hardships you have to go through. And I know there's a lot of people, man, that are productive members of society that are like, good, lock your ass up forever. It's easy to say, man, until it affects you, right? But you can only go so hungry, so thirsty, so cold before you give up. When I was on the run, I was at a point, I went to Juarez, Mexico, at one point, and me and my crime partner, who I'm still in contact with him to this day because he knows I did that solid, man, and took that case, right? Like I should, like a real one does. And we started disagreeing on things. We started bumping heads, and ultimately, man, when you're around someone, you're on the run, you're very emotional, man. Times are rough. Not everyone has the same ways of thinking. I was a little bit more low key, a little bit more paranoid. You know what I mean? I'm on my shit. There's about those a little carefree, trying to bone every chick in the area, right? And I ain't gonna lie, I got a couple of my ones, but at the same time, I was aware that when you're dealing with females and dealing with people, you can get caught up quick. So we bumped heads. Ultimately, I got caught. He got caught. They dropped his charges. I took the case. I went to prison. I got out. I changed my life. So hopefully this guy, Cesar Hernandez, is able to evade as long as he can, but not commit crime while doing it. Count the blessings, because everything happens for a reason. He's out for a reason, and he better count his blessings because they have not stopped looking for him. With that being said, let me know what you guys think. Do you think he's going to be caught, or you think he's gone? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I truly believe in, and that's the betterment of all people, man. Hey, I'm like, go Caesar, go Caesar. And then when he gets caught, I'm going to be like, oh, that's what you get.